States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Anybody have a chance to look at the minutes? Any corrections? Revisions? Make a motion that we accept the minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Shahana, do you have the treasurer's report, please?
After last meeting, I received $1,050 from sewage, $196.70 from code inspections, and $250 from zoning. And for housekeeping, I provided bank balances, list of bills proposed, and January budget update. The rest of the housekeeping items will be provided in the next meeting.
Thank you, Shahana.
You're welcome.
Roadmaster?
Since the last, meeting, we've had a couple storms, nothing big. I had replaced the headlights on 750 and shorted out. And basically, just been doing some quick road repairs here and there with some patch up pothole.
Thank you, Gary. I'm going to assume there's no zoning tonight, because Mr. Bowles is not here.
He said that he issued a sign permit, and also he's working on a pool permit.
Okay. First, public participation.
I'm Tom Miller, Milford Township. I was wondering, can we enter, I have 303 signatures, it is a petition to Milford Township Supervisors. We, the undersigned, are deeply concerned about the currently contemplated development on the Santos property because of its effects on traffic, emergency and municipal services, schools, tourism, and our country-paced way of life in the area. Could I have these entered into the record?
Sure.
Okay.
Is that the total, is that the total
303,
statement?
yeah. Well, as of now, anyway.
Okay, thank you. Do I just give them to Shahana with the file? Anybody else?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
The people who were concerned, did they have any alternative suggestions of what they would prefer to see, or are they just concerned about what they do see?
We do have a website that, and we haven't had any alternative suggestions thus far. There was just space to sign the petition.
Of concern,
Yes.
but not any suggestions as anything other than concern?
At least we haven't had it on the website thus far.
Brad?
Fred Weber, Milford Borough. As to your question about that, no, there was no room for that, but I mean, I think the developer has heard loud and clear over the past 12 months that we don't want apartments, but we'd be amenable to townhouses. So that's the alternative, right?
Ownership versus rental, you mean?
Well, exactly. Because, I mean, think about it for a minute. Statistics show that if you do a rental, who gets the income? Who's managing that? Is it the township? Is it the developer? Who gets that income? And if you have a rental, for every dollar that you get from a rental, you're spending $1.19 because of the increase you need to do and provide in services. So it doesn't make sense. If you have townhouses, now you have a tax revenue coming in and people vested in the community. So that's the alternative.
So I assume then you're saying if it's a rental property, those rents go to the developer who's the owner of the facility, and they're responsible for whatever maintenance is required to maintain that building or the grounds and whatever, all right?
But as far as services, that falls back to the township, right? So you're increasing,
How does it fall back to the township if the building belongs
well,
to
who's
the
going to
developer?
provide ambulance, who's going to provide fire?
Just for a minute,
Yeah, go ahead.
just because we've been beating a dead horse and moved
Well,
forward.
I was
so there's
just
something-
responding
Okay, yeah.
to the question.
Sure.
Madam Chairwoman, could I just ask Tony, could you just talk to our constituents a little bit about the fair housing rules that the township has to live by, and where we can and cannot regulate in terms of apartments versus other types of dwelling
I don't,
units.
I really don't want to address that this evening, Rachel. I think it's pretty clear. Our ordinance provides for certain uses in certain zones. The intent of any zoning ordinance is to accommodate reasonable use and development of property, and also to make sure that development is compatible with the general goals of the comprehensive plan and the surrounding character of the neighborhoods. As far as fair housing goes, we really don't get, and I think you want me to address Fred's townhouse versus apartment. We can't discriminate.
Right.
Yeah, we
You know,
don't.
If someone comes in with a plan for apartments, then it's apartments. If they come in for townhouses, it's townhouses.
Agreed.
But you know, whether or not the townhouse would be better than an apartment, or an apartment better than a townhouse, that's something that'll have to be discussed at these open sessions.
But my point on this is, in order to accommodate Legends development, you'd have to change the zoning.
Depending on what their proposal is. Yes.
Well, and,
In order to accommodate any development
Right.
right now,
exactly.
in order to accommodate any development in the DD zone, which includes residential and non-residential, you would have to change the zone.
Exactly. Thank you.
Well, could we just reiterate a question that was asked at the planning board meeting? With the comprehensive plan being looked at now, would a major change in zoning be appropriate when you're working on the comprehensive plan now? That's,
Changes in zoning are appropriate any time that there's an issue that comes up that needs to be dealt with. Just to give you an example, I'm in a township now where they have a very limited commercial zone. And what has occurred is that there's 15 parcels in the entire township that are zoned commercial. But the commercial developers come in, and he has shown the township on the map and indicated that there's insufficient area for commercial development. So that has to be dealt with, whether you're dealing with a comprehensive plan or not. If there's insufficient property available for development, if you have zoned to keep commercial development out, you have to deal with that, whether or not you're in the process of doing a plan or not.
If I might, from the last planning board meeting, to Tom's point, Mr. Ritzik, who was brought in, I believe, from, I don't know if he's Pike County or
Harrisburg.
State Harrisburg, he was asked that question, and he stated unequivocally that it would be highly unusual, and it would have to be an extraordinary circumstance to be changing the zoning prior to developing the comprehensive plan.
But not impossible.
Extraordinary.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Correspondence, please, Shawna.
Okay. This letter is from me as the secretary of Milford Township Planning Board, and it's in the agenda. They asked for workshops where they can vote, and they also asked for getting directions from the Board of Supervisors for updating the comprehensive plan.
Okay.
I got a verification of error in assessment from Board of Assessment Appeals. This one is from PENDA, Pennsylvania Department of Transportation. It's about 2020 Northeast Bridge Preservation Partnership Meeting. It's on October 5 through 7, 2020 in Harrisburg. This one is from DCNR. The DCNR Recreation and Conservation Grants Program will be accepting applications from January 15, 2020 to April 22, 2020.
What do those initials stand for?
Department of Conservation and Natural Resources.
I got 2 newsletters from Pike County Area Agency on Aging and Pike County Conservation District. This one is an arc disturbance inspection report for Dollar General, Shohola Dollar General. No violations observed at this time. This correspondence is from Brian Snyder. He forwarded Jill Gamboni's email. It's from she's the representative of Michael Piper. It's about the litter legislation, Senate Bill 431, now Act 62 of 2018. This one is from Storb Environmental Incorporated. It's a downstream notification and public notice for John and Davies Oil Company. Please be advised that this correspondence serves as public notice with respect to the annual notification requirement contained in the law. This one is from Mr. McNara. He sent UGI development agreement. And that's all.
Okay, thank you, Sean.
You're welcome.
Old business is a tax anticipation note that I had Shahana fill out, and we are going to file with Wayne Bank for $50,000. We don't need it as of yet, but it's like a credit line in case we have unexpected bills, like with the extra $5,000 and things. We're cutting it close, and probably next year there might be a tax increase because we're having a very hard time funding with just $420,000 in our budget. So I will make a motion to put the application in to Wayne Bank. I did call a couple other banks, and there's some banks that don't even do this. Wayne Bank does. I can just make a motion to do the tax anticipation note? Or is there anything else that I have to do?
Tax anticipation note, depending on what the bank requires, they might want a resolution.
Okay, she got everything I think that they required, because I did talk to
I'll
them.
just take a copy of the
Okay,
minutes.
and a copy of the minutes.
Or a zip
Okay.
code.
So they want a motion
Yeah, I wanted a motion. Okay,
for a maximum of 50,000.
yes.
What's the interest rate?
2.5.
Do you know what Pliget offers?
I don't know anything about whether they offer anything. I thought 2.5 I would take. I would like 2.5 all day long.
And what is the terms? How do we plan to?
It's paid back with your taxes. It's
That I
basically like a
understand.
line of credit if you needed it.
So we would pay it back at whatever schedule we
Nah,
choose when the
basically,
tax
yes,
revenue
when the
comes
tax
in?
revenue comes in, yes.
Traditionally, tax
And by the-
anticipation notes have to be paid back
For
before
the end of the year.
calendar year.
Yes. So, that's,
I'll second Penny's motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
No, our intent with that is,
Just in case. Don't be in the case, but just in
and do we have any financial obligation if we do not
No.
advance funds?
No.
So it's not like a HELOC where you're paying.
No. New business, selection of solicitor for planning board. I did reach out to Tom Farley, and he is agreeable to become the new planning board solicitor. So I guess I will make a motion at this time to make Tom Farley the new planning board solicitor.
I'll second that.
All in
Could
favor?
I ask a couple questions first? Do we know what his rate is and his availability?
He is available, and his rate seems to be, I think it was $250, just like everybody else. He said usually 25.
Tony's rate is, I think, 200, right? Tony,
I'm sorry.
the rate that we pay you for,
Planning meetings is $250 a meeting,
oh, it is 250.
for the meeting. no matter
Oh,
how
just
long.
flat fee,
Right.
no matter how long it is,
Yeah.
okay, as opposed to hourly.
And he's available on that Wednesday, you're the fourth Tuesday?
of the month?
He was available the fourth Tuesday of the month. Yep.
Does that would create any kind of conflict being using, charging with the county for this sewer that comes through?
He didn't seem, I didn't talk about that, but he didn't seem to think he had any problems. But that didn't come up, I'm sorry. But,
Does he belong to a firm or is he a
He's
standalone
the
guy?
county solicitor.
He's a county solicitor, and it's,
Farley,
Farley,
Bernathy,
Bernathy.
Blamer.
and Blamer.
But there are very few attorneys to go that want, it's, yeah.
Penny, Tony Waldron was here the other night with the planning commission. Is he an alternate or
He's the alternate.
he's the alternate?
Right, he's the alternate.
And he wouldn't be any help in the case of the conflict with the sewer issue, either
Because he's
because he
on the-
represents
he
the Western
represents-
Sewer Authority.
That's what I'm saying, there's very few.
But this is
It's like-
harder.
So, I'll make a motion that Tom Farley become our new solicitor for the planning board.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The comprehensive plan. We're up to yours.
Before you get on to that,
Okay.
the letter that was sent in, as far as the workshops went, we weren't looking just at voting workshops. We were gonna not have them monthly like we had, because we're making no headway in them.
Okay.
And the last meeting we had was more productive than the last 8 meetings we've had.
Okay.
So we'd like to just have them as necessary.
We have
I
to-
think there's a little confusion about the way the letter was written. We wanted to make it clear that to have a workshop meeting a week after our regular meeting is not going to be productive, because there isn't enough time for the professionals to get things together. There's not enough time to review. It's just not, it's not time right. There may be times on special occasions, like with the UGI plan, where it might fall that we could use that, but under normal circumstances, we don't see buying the professionals at those meetings, because we're really not going to be effective. The point about the voting is if we have a workshop and we have an advertised meeting, we're able to vote whether, because it is a legal meeting. The previous board agreed not to vote. So I don't think that we were asking to vote. I just think that we wanted to clarify how that works for the public's sake. And I think, I'm not sure whether there was so much going on, Johanna, that I'm sure that just didn't get transferred right. So I think the correspondence that we sent, let us review that before you accept that as our request.
Kevin, would you be considering a different date than to have the workshop?
I think the workshop is you have it in there as need.
Right.
And then if we have to publicly advertise it, we'll use it. And I think it's fine just to leave it alone.
Just on an as-needed basis.
Right, on an asking basis, and UGI were kind enough that they'll go to your next meeting, and then we can act on it, so that the first meeting in the next month, you'll be able to officially act on that, because they just jumped the gun a little bit on the timing for that, so. But the workshop meeting, we have to consider the cost to the township, so the cost of the professionals, if we're not gonna be productive, what's the point in having it? So I think we're comfortable having the meetings monthly. Then we've got a bunch of requests to make to you too. So Bob asked me to be here tonight, so I'll let Bob use the chair.
Now, getting back to the comprehensive plan. As we discussed in the workshop, we just feel that we wouldn't be doing any justification to do it without some kind of oversight from a planner or some professional. And the question I did have was about the $5,000 that was put towards planning, if that need be go towards a planner. And as we discussed earlier too, if we can get joint comprehensive plan, the funding from the state is going to cover probably most of it, from the way I understand, right? From what Ted was saying?
Not to jump in on this, but I think,
Jump in.
I think what we need to do is ask for the permission of the supervisors to have a workshop with as many of the interested parties as we can get in there. Get Ted back in the room. He's willing to do a training session. We had some pushback and misunderstanding about the last training session. Let's forget about that. Let's get everybody in the room and at the table. And I would be willing to talk to some of the townships and the representatives, and Bob, I think.
I would like to see a letter sent to them that we're going to have the workshop and see who's interested in coming.
If we could have the permission to try to put that together. With the funding that's there, with the fiscal responsibilities we have and the burdens that both Milford and Milford Township have, to not do a comprehensive plan together when we already have a joint comprehensive plan and we can each have our own chapter. And if we can do that and have it funded,
Oh, absolutely.
why are we not, I think we need to get back at the table and have a good, sensible conversation about this, and everybody can get what they want out of this. I don't, but we've got to sit at the table and talk about it, or we're gonna get nowhere.
So you guys will be in charge of trying to
If
get
we
the
have the
dates
permission
together,
of the
if we give you
supervisors
the permission.
to get the secretary to write a letter and send it to the other, of course, you'll get the letter to get approval, but I think if we could, and that's something that we need to do forthwith. If we're gonna be trying to work with developers or other interested parties, or, you know.
Where that goes answers the rest of the questions we're gonna have,
Well,
as far as planner and.
Well, the thing is, I was also gonna make a motion that we were gonna apply for the grant today too, to get the grant.
The county grant.
The county grant.
well, I think it's premature to ask for the county grant.
According to Tony, Milford's already done it, so that you might as well get on it and get going with it. So that it's in place for when you guys wanted to do what you wanted to do.
If we get the proper funding together, that might not be necessary. I mean, if you wanna make the bid, that's fine,
I
but
would say, at least put the application in, we can always
who's
not.
gonna be the grant writer? Who's gonna do that?
Ted said that he would help us write the grant,
Well, and see, that's what I'm saying, he's gonna, if we talk with him and get,
right? Am I missing something?
I think we're
He
talking
won't write
about
the
two
grant for
different
the
grant
county.
applications.
Oh, okay.
he isn't gonna write the grant for the county.
Ted is talking about writing a grant application for the
For a
state
joint, for a joint.
municipal
Right.
assistance
Oh,
grant.
okay, I'm sorry.
And the county did say that they would help us with the scenic rural character preservation grant, like the borough applied.
Okay.
So
I
two
didn't
different
know-
pots of
I didn't realize we
money.
had
Two
two
different
different
pots
pots
of
of
money.
money.
The county's gonna go along with us with that if we get into this Route 6 corridor stuff, and we get into the scenic preservation, because that's where that comes from, that old agreement that the county had with the state. So we really need to understand where the money's coming from and whatever money you get like that has strings attached to
everything
it.
has
You don't
strings.
just get it and then do what you want with it. You get it and you do what they tell you can do with it. If we want to get ahead of,
I apologize, I was talking about the county grant, so.
well, and so I'm talking about both.
Okay.
So I think
Yeah.
we need to be, and the county is understanding enough and would be more than happy to back off if we got another agreement going. So I don't see a problem with putting that stuff into the county, but we've got to get a better understanding of what the money's used for and how that's worked, so.
I just want to jump in with a comment. In the grant programs that I've worked in the past, including the grant at Gray Towers and the grant at the library, usually if you have done any work in advance of the grant application being approved, it's not eligible anymore. So if we went forward with hiring an actual planner through the county program before we had an approval at the state program, they probably wouldn't touch it.
Yeah, we have to be careful.
Wouldn't touch it.
We have to,
If we could clarify that with Ted in advance.
the grant writing stuff is really hairy. We can box ourselves in,
Okay.
and I would be,
That's our reason for real this meeting, having a meeting and a training
So then
session is very important
I'll
to
make
see
you a
what direction
motion
we're
to
going.
send out letters to
and
the
I
other
think
municipalities.
I think if we read the joint comprehensive plan, we're gonna realize that we need to tweak what we already have. And maybe make the new 537 plan, whatever that's gonna be, work into that. I think there's some, most of the work is already done. Why are we reinventing the wheel is what I'm saying. There's some things that we need to add, or spokes we need to put in it, or however you wanna look at that, but.
Some goals that might be different, some goals that were accomplished from the last time around, and
That's.
Well, that, put it so everybody can understand too, and not have it overwritten.
And
Yeah,
there's
well,
a
that's-
certain amount of it that was history that certainly hasn't changed, other than you might have some more recent history to add to it.
Right, but there's a whole sequence of the way a comprehensive plan is written, and the history is part of it, and that's how it justifies what you're going into. So a lot of it is already done. We need to, and then we need to look at either, are we looking at mixed-use properties? Are we looking at large acquisitions of trying to combine the property, which we know is going on up at Route 6 now? There's being offers made. There's things that are happening that we have to consider all of that, but I think we need to get everybody at the table and talk about it. That's what we're asking for permission for, right, Bob?
Yep.
Chairman, will you put your motion
I
on?
I will make a motion that you want to get together with other municipalities to try to get with Mr. Ted, right?
Yeah.
And to try to discuss your municipal planning.
Brett said, what you
Yes.
know, right.
With DCED.
And DCED.
DCED.
With DCED.
All right, before we write the letter, we need to, like, call the secretary thing and what night's gonna be available, what works for them.
But you'll make all
Try
those
to call them.
arrangements, and
We'll-
you will
we'll
make
try-
all those
We'll try,
arrangements.
we're not gonna make anything that's perfect, but we'll try to make those contacts and then get Shahana to write a letter. But, yeah, I think we
And
could.
what comes out of that will put us in what direction we're heading.
Okay,
Take that motion.
all in favor?
Fine.
So
Right,
that,
other than that.
okay.
Not
Oh, you're not done yet?
There's four, five major things, I guess, really, that we're working on at the moment, which one is the comprehensive plan. We also have the emergency management plan, the Act 537 plan, and the sewer project. All of these going on at once, and it's a lot on our plate. And we are definitely gonna need, other than the planner for the comprehensive plan, we're gonna need professional input on these other plans too.
Well, not to say, not to interrupt you, Bob, but your sewage facilities plan, the Act 537 plan, the township engineer should be involved in
Yes.
reviewing that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And so I don't know if you have contacted Mr. Kiley yet or not. if you-
Well, right now, we're looking for direction where we want to start, because we can't work on all of them at once.
Well,
Well, we don't-
and the sewage facilities plan really, that should be within the purview of the township engineer to take a look at. Because there's certain things that have to be in there for DEP.
There's certain
As I
things that have to be
understand-
in there, but the 537 plan also sets the tempo of what sewerage and what development the township wants to see. So it should be a collaborative effort, but we don't want to bring professionals in and be spending your money before. The concern about the 537 plan is that that's tied to the sewer project, and that's part of the intermunicipal agreement. So the planning commission should be weighing in on what the 537 plan in the township is going to be along the process, instead of commenting on something that they've provided to us. That's our point. So,
That, and with the sewer project, the reports for the monthly meetings, we can be privy to them,
You have the monthly meetings.
not everyone. I don't get the minutes.
I
though.
gathered that they're ready to submit some type of preliminary plan in April or May.
they're talking about, they've got some money, they've got some dollar amounts together, and that's why we're at the point where the planning commission would like to see the engineering reports and the minutes and the monthly paperwork that are produced from the
The last
sewer
time I
committee.
was at the one meeting up in Wilkes-Barre, they didn't have it all together because they were still waiting on a few more things, and then winter came, so they couldn't
At
finish
the last
it.
meeting, you weren't there, I was at the
And
last
I
meeting,
wasn't
they
at the
weren't
last
ready yet to
meeting.
submit
No.
that either.
No.
No, and that's why we want to see the reports and see the stuff and see where the progress is, and the same with the 537 plan. We don't want to comment on what, as a planning commission, we don't want to comment on what's finished. We want to comment as it's going.
Mhm.
So, you know,
Are they giving us copies of the minutes of their meetings? The
the-
sewer
Big question
meetings?
for you, Shahana.
Yeah,
I don't get it actually.
I don't get a
You don't
copy
get a
of
copy?
minutes.
see, this is where we're at.
This is what I'm saying, we should request, I
Yeah.
think the
because I
board needs
thought
to
you did, 'cause
request.
I do get
copies
the
of the
copies,
minutes.
and then have I forwarded it to you then? Is that how you've gotten them? Because I have sent you, or you have sent me.
They used to pass them out at
They
the
used to
beginning of
pass
the
them
meeting,
at the
that's
beginning of the
why,
meeting, yes.
that's my,
Yeah.
Bob, they used to pass them out at the beginning of, the meetings I attended, they passed them out at the beginning of the meeting.
Right.
You haven't gotten
I
minutes?
haven't gotten any, I get the paper, some of the paperwork from HRG, but I didn't get any of the minutes.
Okay.
Then it's as simple as, would you please ask them to forward them to the secretary and see that both boards get them?
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, that's pretty
And that would,
elementary.
all the monthly documents,
Yeah.
whether it be HRG or the
Like I
minutes.
say, I thought Shahana was getting them, I really did.
All right, so all of those,
So I make a motion that we have Shahana request from the county planning department that they send the township office copies of the sewer minutes and the reports that are handed out at their meetings, and that those be distributed to the supervisors and to the planning board on a monthly basis.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, so we're back to the Act 537 plan, which we have to get the engineer involved in. And we're already looking at spending money on a planner, so
well, could we request the specific information to the 537 plan from the sewer group first?
yeah.
Let's, the
See what
specific
you're
work
doing,
that has been done on
Yeah.
the 537 plan be submitted to Milford Township Planning Commission from the sewer project. Because that's happening while we speak.
Yes.
I mean, that's just part of,
But we're still gonna have to look forward to the future for engineering fees when we do work on the 537.
but let's use they're paying for the engineer, let's use their engineer in the meantime. That's all I'm saying, let's get the report.
Did we have, were you able to go when they had the meeting with DEP?
Yes, and things that by the time it was done, DEP was fine, and that we were gonna have a meeting not until April or May, when they could get all their, they were trying to get their work together to get it submitted, but they didn't have it all done, it had to be like a third done, and it wasn't all done, so now we had to wait until nice weather before they could finish
On that
their.
last report from from HRG to DEP, was possibly requesting testing of all wells in the area too before they go any further.
When did you get that?
At the last meeting.
Oh, okay, I
They
didn't
talked
see
about
that,
it.
okay, I didn't see that.
So that, again, that'll be a costly project, and
Mm-hmm.
that's gonna be time consuming.
What, most wells, everybody in Milford, that they're looking for it is all in central water.
The borough, but through the township, through Westfall, they're gonna want all the wells tested, and surrounding wells around Milford, right within a certain distance, I guess.
No, okay, I didn't hear
But
that.
I didn't, you weren't there, so I did make a statement at the end of the meeting, because DEP asked me to be at the meeting, and nobody told me when the meeting was, so I wasn't at the meeting.
Okay.
So those meetings are open to the public, and they are the first Wednesday of the month, but they are at 3 PM at the commissioner's
Mhm,
office, so
correct.
it's
But
very
the
difficult.
meeting they're speaking about was a specific
It was,
meeting
up
that
in
DEP
Scranton.
called in Wilkes-Barre.
Or Wilkes-Barre, I'm sorry, yes.
So that's,
Yeah, because they called me specifically to tell me to be at the meeting, I asked them when, they said they didn't set it up yet, that I'll be notified when the meeting is, and nobody notified.
Okay.
in reference to the emergency management plan, I would think that maybe we could have a further discussion about that and make a separate committee. And because of my past experience with some of the people involved in that, and from the joint task force, I would be willing to help hook you up with the right people to get the list and to do some of that stuff. So I'm making that offer to Bob now. I'm not sure whether it is a planning function, but it's also, it should have a separate leg.
Yes.
So I don't know.
I think you got a copy of what I sent out. And the last page of it, I believe, was the, more or less a checklist of what we have to decide. First, we gotta get some information and decide how far we wanna go as far as being, what's the word?
A shelter?
Shelter, there we go.
To be a
My
shelter
brain did
here.
for a minute there. Yeah, to be a shelter here, because it's gonna require some purchase of some.
Money.
Yeah,
Well, I can't emphasize this enough, though. the problem with emergency management is if you have a catastrophic event in your township,
You're supposed to-
and you bring the resources in to handle that, be it a plane wreck, be it a natural disaster, be it whatever, and you don't follow the proper channels through PEMA and FEMA, you will be responsible for the cost of that.
Yep.
So if you do nothing else in your plan but get it straight that you stop and get the right, get Pennsylvania Emergency Management, the Federal Emergency Management, there is a pecking order, there is a line that you have to follow.
I believe I put that on the list too.
Right? And a single event like that can cost you millions of dollars. And if you kick the people into gear, you're responsible for that expense. It's a scary thing, so there.
Even just posting the emergency management numbers in our office. So if people call in and something seems to be going on, you can call to find out information. We don't even have that.
Right.
I would say that we should have that not only in the office, but on the website, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Who would call if there's a gas emergency, who would call if there's a,
I'm just saying, if Sean, I got a call right now and somebody said we're having an emergency. I've just got no idea who to call them up.
hopefully they would
Oh,
call
they're not
911. Hopefully.
But there's resources through the task force and through the county to help with that.
To help with the pay.
There are.
There's people that do it for a living and live and breathe.
Yeah, and surprisingly, that there isn't a great cost associated with the plant. There are, like you said, there's people that eat, sleep, live, and breathe this stuff, so.
I do see in the list that you gave us, Bob, that there are some things that are, I would say the low-hanging fruit for the municipality to provide, the list of the equipment that we already own, generator information, the septic capacity of our own building.
But I just recently found our plan, so I can figure it
So
out
you
now.
got that one. Okay, so do we have, I'm new to the table, so I don't know, do we already have a list of what equipment we have?
The county has it.
The county has a list of
Yes,
our
they do.
equipment?
Oh, they asked me for it.
Well, they have it because I gave it to them.
Do we have a copy of what we
So what they did with it, I don't know, but I wrote it all up and gave it to them.
Do we have a
Do we have a
copy
copy
of what
of
we
it?
sent?
I'll redo it.
Okay.
But I know they had, it was done because I did it.
Okay. And I would suggest that it would be really, very helpful if we engage the fire department in that committee as you look.
Well, we're gonna be engaged with the fire department anyway, because I need to know what they can handle, what they're set up for, because actually we would be overflow. And I wanna get an idea on what overflow we would have, but we can only take so much as our septic would handle, as our building can handle. I don't even know what the occupancy of the building is.
You mean
We
as a
have-
shelter type thing?
Yeah. You know, but we couldn't even look at that right now because we're not set up for it. We don't have any kind of non-perishable foods here or anything.
But some of the things, and Gary, correct me if I'm wrong, some of the things like the use of the school and the use of that that's already available to the county,
Right.
if we ask for, we would be able to include some of that stuff in our plan as well because of the proximity of it.
And that's what we.
You know, there's things available to us that we just gotta get the right people involved.
The equipment that Pike County has out there at their emergency center is unbelievable.
The amount of equipment since Homeland Security is around, that's around the state in trailers and stuff.
Unbelievable.
You don't really want to talk about the preparedness that I've been involved with, because none of us want that stuff to happen, but the amount of equipment that's available throughout the state is staggering. What's in Monroe and Northampton County is, you know, we've got help out there for us.
And then the only other thing was escape routes. I have an escape route plan for different areas.
Aren't we still wrestling with that compressor station issue of getting people away from there?
We started on that, when that went in, we were discussing escape routes for the compressor station. That's one example. The upper end of Fire Tower Road above the compressor station, if something went wrong there or something went wrong with the line, how they would get out. And at the time, I was trying to get them to open the old path up to Pond Eddy, Because not only would it, we might have been able to get a joint venture there, because not only would it have been an emergency route for our people, it would have been an emergency route for Pond Eddy too,
In Westfall Township.
and Westfall Township, yeah. So that you would have had 3 municipalities possibly involved in that, and at the time, the compressor station was willing to do a lot of the work. But, for
Not
some reason, the
anymore,
county
right?
wanted to come down through Malibu, which to me seemed redundant, because you're crossing the same pipeline that you're trying to get away from.
Okay.
I mean, that's something that's gotta be looked at, and then maybe have it mapped out where different areas would be used for an emergency escape route, so it's just not a total mess.
Has that time passed now that that money from them, or their willingness to help with that, is that
Yeah.
passed?
Yeah, because they even changed.
It's easy to, it's easier to try and get something when they want something.
Yeah.
Once they have it.
You aren't gonna get it.
I would think the county would also be helpful, Bob, in the list of hazards, potential hazards that you want to address in your plan. I see that's on your list also,
Yes.
is a list of hazards, and I would think also high hazard dams would be something that they would already have on their radar.
And that's already on DEP radar dams too. But even the trains that run through here, if there's a spill, like they had up in Shahol many years ago.
The tractor trailers.
Tractor trailers, what, depending on what they're hauling. There's so many possibilities that we're not even set up for that. I mean, I'm sure the fire department is,
Right,
emergency, Pike County Emergency Management is, but not us.
Water Authority can help us with some of that stuff too, because they're familiar with the drain runoff on the highway, the interstate, which is their biggest fear. And that could work in, we could get some help working in with a source water management plan too. So they would want some things out of us, we maybe could get some things out of them too, so.
So Bob, specifically in that regard, what are you looking for from us today, other than the things we've already
Well,
addressed?
just the fact that we have to move forward on all these things, and it's all, just, it's a lot on one,
A lot of balls in the air.
not just one bed, I mean, the whole planning board, we have a lot in front of us to go over right now, including the mixed-use ordinance. And now in the past, we've already said we're gonna work side by side with the other stuff on that, but I just wanted to bring to your attention that that's a lot on our plate. And we went over the needs already that we were gonna have.
I think setting up a separate committee for the emergency operations plan, I think is a good
I
way
think
to
we can talk
address
about
that.
that in another, and at the next month. And Bob and I will talk about it.
What's, the old fitness, physical fitness place across the street. Who owned it?
Dave Ruby?
Dave
Talking about
Ruby.
Dave Ruby?
Yeah, Dave Ruby is, yeah, there's people in the fire department, that'll, and maybe we could.
Well,
just
Dave,
make it-
Dave also showed interest in getting involved in the emergency management for Milford Township, which, he had talked to me at one time about, and I told him, come to a meeting, put in a letter. I think if he wants to do it, he does it all the time. It would be a big help for Milford Township. As I said before, the reason I'm there is because I had all the qualifications. I don't live and breathe it like they do.
Well, and Chris Brighton, if we twist his arm a little bit, has a lot of contacts with that stuff because of his office too, so we'll try to get the right people around you with that.
So we might go after a couple other people to get involved with Milford Township because they do know more than I do.
Thank you for all your hard work and your diligence, and
You're
for
more than
coming to
welcome.
coordinate with us and to tell us what you need. Do we want to address how we want to move forward on the comprehensive plan, or did we?
We made the motion.
We made a motion.
Well, they're gonna, what they wanted. You have everything that you wanted.
As long as you have the disposal of the secretary for a letter that starts
Yes.
putting people together.
Absolutely.
We're gonna bring Ted Renson in
Absolutely.
as soon as we can for a training session. I think we need to hold the phone on our grant application, so that we don't trip ourselves up.
And then you're gonna work on the emergency management?
That's a
those people
sidebar,
on the
but we
sidebar?
need to know
Yeah.
that we're concerned about that, that's all.
Okay. Okay,
That's
good.
it for now.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Okay, other public participation. Who's first?
I have a question. I have a memory that goes back to you putting a new spin on the mixed-use zoning that changed from 20 acres to smaller parcels as well. Am I the only one who has a recollection of that being something that you had introduced?
No, what I asked them to send it back to the planning board, that it has to be a mixed-use zoning that can be used with or without central sewage.
It didn't,
Throughout the
did
commercial
it relate
district.
to the
Throughout
size
the
of the
commercial
plot, the
district.
size of the
Throughout the commercial
Yes.
district.
Throughout the commercial district,
right,
Be
so
honest.
even smaller parcels could be,
just to come up with something.
The honest practical truth is we're gonna get back to a square foot
That's-
formula
Through the square
per
foot,
acre.
through the
per-
square foot,
We're
through
gonna
per
go back,
acre.
that's gonna be the only sensible way to
That you
handle
can
it.
do it. Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah,
it needs to apply to all
it
properties.
can't just be,
If you have an
You
acre,
can't
it
do it
needs
to
to
one
apply to
from
all
my
Yeah.
properties.
recollection, there's some vague remembrance of that,
yes.
right.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason for that, Phyllis, as I recall it, is that there are very select few parcels of 20 acres or more. And when you were combining that with the area where there was a plan for sewer, because that initial round of the mixed use was contingent upon the sewer, we were probably going to fail in court in terms of enforceability for, as Tony was giving an example earlier, where you don't have enough property that qualifies.
Right.
So we have to make sure that what we do makes sense and will be enforceable under the law.
Now, the developer came with an alternative plan which doesn't require central sewer, right? A smaller number of units that's on-site, right? Which would be more along the lines of what you are hoping to do.
Did he come to the planning commission meeting?
Yes, he did.
Yes, it did. So but the stage that we're at right now is the same stage, which is a change of zoning is required first. And so that doesn't apply just to one property.
Right,
It applies to any property in that zoning district in the community.
right, any commercial.
In this case, it's the DD zone,
DD,
for our
right,
township,
right,
it's the
okay.
DD development district.
Again, that was an informal presentation.
presentation.
Right,
The ordinance we're working on is for the whole district, not for one property.
right, right.
Anybody else?
Yeah, Penny, I'd like to make a brief comment about the developer presentation recently to your board and to the planning commission. With all due respect to Dave, who is an old friend. We've spent a year pushing back on density in apartments. And finally, the board comes along and so does the planning commission. And the developer allows that they're gonna work with you to come up with things that are important to the township. And what I see in their presentation is that basically they're sticking with the density of apartments. And they're sticking with something that basically has been pushed back on. And to me, the opportunity is there for them to reassess their profit goals and come to the township with something that fits our area. Apartments are just too dense for our area. They deliver a lower demographic. I'm not against fair housing, but what's appropriate for our area? I live in Milford Borough, but to me, our self-interest is Milford. not just the borough, not just the township. So to me, I would like to see the developer respond to what we would like here. I also note that they seem to increase the track, the commercial track along the highway. Listen, in this area, we do not need another gas station. All right? We do not need more retail. We do not need more restaurants. It's just simple marketing to understand that. And that's what they would like to do. It's just overdevelopment. It's something that Erica mentioned in her letter in the dispatch. And my ideas will be in the dispatch this coming week. So, to me, the opportunity is for the developer to come back with something that fits what we would like. The medical building makes a lot of sense. The condos and townhouses makes a lot of sense. Job-producing back office, small industry type of building makes a lot of sense. That's what we need, that's what we've asked for, and to me it's a little frustrating that the developer is trying to get away with more apartments, and albeit they're saying it's in septic, but we can see what would happen if sewers came. They just double the project, and it would be the density problem. Apartment dwellers are not the same as people who purchase condos and townhouses. Those people have financial backing, and they're going to take better care of their properties. It's just the history of apartments. So, to me, it's all about the self-interest of all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
They also have an option on the 7 acres across the road too.
I did look on the GIS, and that is one parcel on the GIS on
One
both
par-
sides
I
of the
think it's
street.
one parcel under tax. I don't know if the properties are attached or not.
Both sides of the road.
They seem to indicate they were up in the air about developing on the west side of the road.
They,
Dave, could you speak to that? Is it one parcel?
It's two parcels, and they have
It's
an
two.
agreement on each one.
So they're separate parcels,
Under
and they're
one
just
tax.
taxed as one parcel?
I don't recall how the tax part is, but
they're
as far
taxed,
as,
they're taxed as one.
It has to be one parcel. If it's taxed as one
No,
parcel.
you can have multiple parcels under one tax number. Yeah, I dealt with that all the time.
Thank you.
So,
It's cheaper taxes if you tax all your properties.
one other point on the Wednesday, 3 PM inconvenient time sewer meeting. Thanks to the benevolence of a resident, those are now being videotaped, uploaded to YouTube, so if you can't get there, you can actually just download it and watch it. It's highly interesting. It's great entertainment. I think you should all, it's better than like Friends or Cheers or anything. Those of you old enough to remember Cheers. The other thing I wanted to say is, last year, we heard a lot of time when Mr. Clark and Mr. Bowles got involved, and it was like, well, we have nothing in front of us. We don't have a plan. So we have nothing. Which always led me to question then, why are we actioning the planning board to make a zoning change? It just doesn't make sense to me. And now what we've heard here tonight from Bob and Kevin is that they've got a lot of stuff on their plate, and they really do, right? So why would they be sent off to look at changing the zoning? And as Mr. Ritzik stated at the planning board meeting, you really don't want to change your zoning prior to doing the comprehensive plan. So it just doesn't make sense to me. It never has, it never will. I mean, if they're here, if they're serious, put a plan in front of us. Then, you've got something. And again, I asked this last year, and I got a really weird answer. It's like, well, why are you doing this? And what do you mean? And I asked the question again, well, why are you considering this? Why are you looking at this? Why does this need to be developed? What does another gas station do for us, like Bill just said? You know, so we got another strip mall. I drove down here today to look at 510 on the 3-lane. That has 8 medical, because everybody loves throwing out the term medical, because yes, we are very short on medical. But we need a walk-in clinic. We need a serious service. We don't need more medical offices. Because if I break my leg now, I can't, you know, if I drive to 510, there's nobody there. You know, there's nobody at the Atlantic Health Place in the borough, right? So I went down there, and there are 8 offices available, and 2 of them are occupied. One by Dr. Bernstein, the foot guy, and one by a chiropractor. And one was some kind of kid jamboree thing, I don't know. But, so why, you know, for the life of me, you know, we have this absentee tonight, unfortunately, legend Mr. DeSantis and Mr. Olmsted, who sat here through the entire year, but have never presented a single thing. And you have people that are very, very busy, they have a lot to do, scurrying around, trying to, you know, do this as well, trying to, you know, meet this requirement. And I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I don't get it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I got one question. This is just dealing
Well, wait a
with
minute,
the
wait a minute.
township.
Can't you guys address what Fred said?
I feel like we've been going over this. We started in the beginning when they came to us, and what is the name of the law? Because we do not have,
It's a use not provided.
it's a use not provided, and this is why we have to come up with some type of zoning for a use that is not provided in
Are
the
you
laws.
obligated to do that?
Can
There
I,
was a request for a zoning amendment presented by the developer's attorney.
So they did put a plan in front of you?
There was a request for a zoning amendment,
Well,
not a plan.
and that request has to be honored legally?
Yes.
Okay,
so
so,
there's 2 aspects to this that I think we were talking about throughout the year last year. And one is that when you have a use not provided for, which is a mixed use in our township zoning right now, we have to address that it's not provided for, or we have essentially an open door for them to come in, right? So, however, providing for the use does not provide for the increase in density necessarily. So they're walking along with us, asking us nicely, because they don't just want the mixed use, they would also like an increase in density. And that's where the give and take and the tension is happening, trying to figure out what level of density would be appropriate, what are the other conditions, aesthetics, et cetera, that we can put into an amendment to the zoning, so that if there is an increase in density, it goes along with something that the community hopefully is excited about. And that's where the comprehensive plan has the best chance to be effective, in that surveying what the community wants, which is broader than those of you who have been engaged all year and are coming over and over again, but also the people who are not here, who might be watching the videos or et cetera, by doing things like the survey. And I know you already started talking about a survey, Bob, which I think is good, in that, and when we do the RFP for a planner, should be certainly part of what we're looking for them to do.
Oh, absolutely.
in the
I
process.
just handed out, I think it was 16, 18 questions, that I looked at different ones online and took stuff that I thought fit our area. And I just gave it to everybody just for a review. This way, when we're ready to do something, we might have some questions that we already used.
Does that answer your?
Just to
Well,
clarify,
it's-
if I could, when the developer came to the planning meeting, did he come with a plan? Or a sketch plan?
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
Is the density that they're seeking, are they still seeking a lower density, or are they seeking density in conformity with the 30,000 square foot per unit?
I don't think
No,
that
he
was
just,
specific.
right now, they presented 50 apartments, which cuts in half what the original plan.
No, but that's,
was.
so my question is,
But
is that in
It
conformity?
doesn't fit
It
where
still
the
doesn't
ordinance
fit.
is written.
Okay, that was my question.
No, the current ordinance, you mean?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't fit.
So, but I think one thing that we really want to be clear about is that in order to be, in order to keep with what is expected of us to write a comprehensive plan. A community survey is the first step. That's something that that's something that has to be done. That's part of the process, is that right?
There's a number of things that are part of the
Right,
process.
but that's one of them. The community survey is absolutely one that's out in the front. And that's why Bob is right, we need to get a good handle on where we're gonna go with that. And that's why I think having this training effort and getting onto a joint comprehensive plan with the right funding, all of those things are gonna be plugged in real quick. So,
I think it's kind of interesting that all of last year, prior to the turnover of the membership of the planning commission, I don't believe the comprehensive plan was ever an agenda item on any of the meetings.
It was, Mr. Sechrist decided that he would have the board members write the comprehensive plan himself, which
No, I'm
made,
talking about prior to the turnover of the membership, prior to that, when it was the
prior to Sechrist?
yes.
That I don't know.
You also have to remember, you don't rewrite it every 10 years, you just review it every 10 years.
That's right.
It's not,
you open the book and make sure you read it. Is what it comes
Which
down
is
to.
challenging enough, right?
That's right. But,
Milford Township is not alone in that regard.
no.
No, I'm not saying it is. I think there's been delinquency across the board because there had never been like an urgent need to look at the bigger picture. But now with all of the things that are coming up, and it does go back to a major plan, now that's moved to the top of the agenda as an important thing to do, and I don't think it has been an important thing to do for the last 10 years.
I think the county put a lot of emphasis on it when they were doing their plan the last time around, and you saw the municipalities, the county put out, I believe, funding in addition to, their leadership of doing it at the county level. And so a lot of the municipalities kind of jumped on board because there was a carrot out there, right? And we're not seeing that coming down from the county in an overt way, saying, here's an invitation, please come, we want to
Right,
help
I
you with
mean,
this. They are open to
But
it.
I think
They're
we-
telling us they're open to it.
I think we have
But
to
it's
be
a little
more,
different.
I think we have to be more practical about the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan has to be looked at in this point in time because they're talking about central sewage, they're talking about more density in the use of the land, they're talking about a lot of things that the comprehensive plan as it's written today doesn't support those. And if we're gonna get into legal issues over the development and those things, then we have to do our zoning so that it's appropriate with what our comprehensive plan
Right,
says.
I hear you.
So we need to look at the comprehensive plan. That's why it's at the, that's
Well,
why.
it's been a sleeper for years, and I'm just saying now that new things are coming up.
I happen to disagree with you.
Okay.
It's always been there. It's always been there. It's not, and it's a document.
it's been referred to.
It certainly is a document that if attorneys want to challenge the township, they're certainly going to open that back up and read it, aren't they, Mr. Magnotta?
I'm sorry, Ken?
If the attorneys are going to challenge the township with a development or any of that sort of stuff, they're certainly going to look at the comprehensive plan.
No, among other things, yeah.
Yeah, but- so it's an important, and the other thing I'd like to say is Bob and I want to start from now. Let's move forward. Let's go forward.
Can I ask this question, guys? Is it possible, just hypothetically, that less density could work well for Milford Township? In your opinion, like maybe in the opinion of the planning guys, like, is it possible that could work for our town?
Demanded by less density, less than we have already, or?
Exactly. Like, for instance, like Stillwater, across the river, Stillwater, New Jersey. I mean, they have really low density by plan, and it seems to work really well for them. Now, granted, it's a little bit like apples and oranges there.
It is like apples and oranges.
But I'm just saying, hypothetically, could that work economically for our area?
No, I'll tell you why. 35 years ago, you had 10,000 people in Old Lake County, now you have 58,000. Our county is an assigned risk under insurance for the simple reason that most of the county travels towards the city for work and have their accidents down there. So actually, we're all paying more in auto insurance than we ever paid before because we're an assigned risk area, high risk area, not assigned risk, high risk area because of where the accidents are occurring. So if we had more business up here where people have to travel less, would actually, could even take us out of that high risk area. Because when I had a business working 10 at night to 6 in the morning, coming home, there was a straight line of headlights on the other side of the road at 6 o'clock in the morning, everybody heading out to work. And because of all that extra travel, we have a lot more accidents, a lot more people getting hurt, and we have a lot more consumption of our roads, just from all the travel.
I think though Erica Burnett, I think you're talking about two separate things though, because you're saying that if we had more jobs here, then people would be staying closer. So
Right,
it's
but
not
with-
like we're
with the-
adding
with the
apartments
growth
with
is gonna come
hundreds,
density.
possibly thousands of people, as opposed to jobs that are, keeping people
What
at
I'm saying
home.
is we can't go less density than we already have. We've already grown so much that.
But you could
there's no
keep
going
it
back to what we
constant and
had.
add more jobs,
Huh?
then add more people. You could keep density of population more level and increase the jobs so that the people who are already here have more jobs than just increasing the population.
You could.
You're
But-
addressing, the quandary here is that we need good livable wage. And we're talking about two separate.
Agreed, that's what I'm trying to say is.
Well, Kevin, like, as Bob was saying, I mean, like, I gave Stillwater, New Jersey as an example. They all leave Sussex County for their work.
Your question is very legitimate. We have to find a happy medium that's gonna work for, our density at this point in time is very low. And that was the issue and the reason for the request. But we have a problem here is that we need to have economic development. So personally, I'd rather see a big roof down there with mechanicals on it and people in there making a good wage. And that's a whole other conversation. But part of the problem here is we don't have the demographic to get good, high-paying jobs because we don't have the people that are willing here to work. We've got more than just one problem as far as the development of what we're gonna have. But your question is right on the front of what this whole problem has been.
Yeah, because I think like they increased the size of the property that has to be present in order to put down a house there. I think they're up to 10 acres now there. But you know what? It seems to work for them. And granted, it sort of seems like the only people that can move in there obviously are people with a lot of money.
With due respect to the supervisors, this is a conversation that we need to have at the end of the month at the planning commission.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
So just to clarify, the sketch plan that the developer brought into planning did not comply with the 30,000 square foot per unit?
I don't believe so.
No, it was off, because I actually did the calculation.
Well, if you delete the property and it's strip irrigation, which takes two acres, plus they have to accommodate for the sewage they're gonna bring from across the street, I don't see how it fits. And they didn't explain, you have that big dog leg that goes down into,
Down the back.
that's gonna take quite a bit of acreage out of it, the steep property, so they didn't get into any of the specifics, and it looks like the commercial portion has gotten a little bit increased.
It looked that way to me.
So
And I asked the question.
if you take all of that out of there, I don't see how that 30,000 feet can be, I didn't do the math, but.
All right, and Bob, and just so that the audience is aware, as sewer enforcement officer, there are central systems in the township now, correct?
For development, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And And those are based on 30,000 square feet per unit, correct?
I don't think so.
No, they weren't.
No.
Okay, what are they based on?
I'd have to go back and look at each one, but it's gonna be based on about, I wanna say.
That was done through a density bonus because of the water and we'd have to get the engineers again here to see how they,
That's good. I'd like to know that, if I could, because it's gonna become relevant later on.
Your properties are not meeting the 30,000 square foot,
Well,
but there
that's
was
my
also,
Because the ordinance requires 30,000.
but there was
square
also
feet.
reserve area put aside so that each lot was supposed to encompass the 30,000 square foot with common area. That wasn't being developed.
Is that common area still a common area?
Yes. That has not been developed and it has not changed from the original plan.
How about up on the hill?
On
Heights?
Milford Heights?
Yeah.
Oh, that's in.
Those lots are
that's
big.
fine, Yeah.
Yeah,
those are
they meet the requirement, because most of those
Really?
lots are over 2 acres.
Just.
Milford Heights made.
So it's just
Fine.
Moon Valley
It's
and...
Moon Valley and probably this place right over here, the
Yeah.
Town Green.
Town Green is probably the tightest one we have.
Yeah.
All right, that was my question. Thank you, Bob.
I think the Moon Valley.
I think that fits with the common area. I never broke it down, but that was the intent of the common area. If you had 30,000 square foot per unit, and you had 10,000 that the house was on, 20,000 that'd be the common area.
And who did what year did the Millers do that?
86.
Well, that's pertinent to that.
And that requirement hasn't changed from the 86 ordinance to
No.
2012, okay.
Anything else? Executive session?
No, I just wanted to let the board know that I did do a developer's agreement for EGI. I sent a copy to Shahana. I sent a copy to Mr. Gupta. Since I'm not going to be at the meeting, there are 3 exhibits that need to be attached. And he has all 3 in his possession. Oh, good. Okay, good. Excellent. Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. Then I don't have
Just a
any...
quick one too. Central on-lot we have.
Central Illinois.
What,
I'm
what's
making
that?
a motion.
Okay, so we'll
They
do
just-
this.
I don't want anybody to think it's
Second. All in
central
favor?
sewage that's going to the development. Yeah, I know.
Okay, thank you.
Just-
I will, thank you very much.
Safe travels.
Thank you.
I would cut
Go
that.
out here and sanitize.